We are live, Crowbar Gym, downtown Leesburg. All right, here we go. Let's make that go away. I'm Hansel Conroy. Welcome, everybody. And right now, we are getting some guests, so this is good. And we have Richie, and we also have James. James, introduce yourself. And
Sure. Yeah. Hi, I'm Dr. James Kelly. I'm the medical science liaison for a company called L Nutra. We make the Prolon 5-day fasting mimicking diet, and it's great to join you
guys. My name is Richie Mazzarella. I am the fitness account manager for L Nutra. I have an ISSA certification in personal training, and I have a rape aggression defense certification. So I'm certified if anybody wants to do rape aggression defense. And we're here to teach you how to eat healthy and change your life and live longer. Thank you for joining.
And you know who I am, Hansel Conroy. I'm the owner of Crowbar Gym. And yes, and I'm trying to work on my juggling skills as best as possible. So hopefully I can get my certification for that at the end of the year.
Good. I know you juggle too, Hansel, so I can help you with that.
That's right. Okay, I need that as well. So we're going to go right into the questions, Doctor. And
sure.
What is Prolon? And just kind of give us a good description of what it is.
So a couple things about Prolon. I want to make sure I don't get too far ahead because I can go for hours. But Prolon is basically designed to give you the benefits that you would get during a 5-day long uninterrupted fast with water only, while still being able to preserve lean body mass. Hopefully being a lot easier than water fasting and enjoyable and doable. So most people can't do a couple of days in a row. We just try to make that function well. And we'll go through why that's important in a bit.
I've been there.
Yeah. It's basically the world's first and only fasting mimicking diet that lets you eat food while still getting the benefits of a fast. And we'll go through how that works too. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely profound when I do it. I've never done it like that, and I definitely get good results when I did it because I've done other fasts before. And mind you, that the interesting thing about it is I didn't even feel it like until like literally the last day. So that was really wonderful about it. What's the difference between this fast and like other fasts, like in a sense, other than the time?
Very, very common question we get asked. So the reason that you would want to do 5 days in a row, we'll start with what fasting is. So fasting is on the societal level, abstaining from water and or food, and in some cases water. Not every type of fast, but basically just going without. On the physiological level, what happens in the body, the goal is to switch from burning food like sugar and fat that you're eating from the external world to burning your own resources internally. So that's what a fast is on the physiological level. And then going further down into the cellular level, it's suppressing these growth pathways in the body that trigger when you eat regular food, protein, sugar, and carbs, you're going to upregulate these growth pathways. They tell the body, food is here, let's make new stuff. And putting a cell into a fasting state by depriving it of the right nutrition will suppress those growth signals and turn on this cleanup signal called autophagy or autophagy. And it takes about 2 days to turn that signal on, or turning on the cleanup, autophagy, to put cells in that stress-resistant fasting state. And then it takes another 2 to 3 days to actually get those benefits. So it takes basically 5 consecutive days. So if you're looking at something like an intermittent fast, where you're doing 12 hours of fasting or 16 hours of fasting, there are some benefits to that. Certainly weight loss, there's some metabolic markers that may be impacted, cholesterol, things like that. But if you really want to get true deep cellular rejuvenative autophagy, where you get rid of misfolded proteins, you clean up your mitochondria, you get the cells to function more optimally, that really takes a couple days in a row. So,
and that's why I got the system here. I mean, that's what I was really interested in, that last part that you just talked about, the mitochondria.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that happens as you age is you accumulate basically screwed up stuff inside your mitochondria. It's harder for them to work through that sludge. They're much less efficient. The cells start to age. The temperature actually goes up inside the cell. Reactive oxygen species are more prevalent. A lot of damage, a lot of bad stuff can happen. And if you put a cell in an autophagy state, they'll clean that up, and it'll just function much more optimally and much more like a younger version of the cell. Mm-hmm. So that's what we think the main difference from this is that it's really the only way you can get that. You either do 5 days of water fasting or you do 5 days of fasting mimicking diet. If you just do a couple hours, you can get that. So,
yeah, I know a lot of people fail on their fast, so that's why I love the product. Now I do get this one. This is another good question. I think because I get it all the time. Can I just go out there and just get this stuff at a store and mimic it myself?
Yeah, and Dr. Longo, our founder, Walter Longo, who's the head of the Longevity Institute at the University of Southern California's Leonard Davis School of Anti-Aging Medicine. Sorry, it's a mouthful. He also does.
You answered 2 questions for me. That's great. I like it.
Yeah, so our founder, he's very, very well regarded. He's been involved in discussions about Nobel Prize. He's really, really accomplished longevity-based research. And he published a book called Longevity Diet, and in that book, he actually does explain the ratios and macronutrients, and we'll talk about how we split the body into fasting in a bit. But he explains all that in his book. So you could do it. The challenge is that you basically have to be a food scientist. It's incredibly difficult to actually get the right macronutrients, and it's not just getting the right ratio of about 9 or 10% protein, about 35, 42% sugar and carbohydrates, and then 50% healthy fat. It's really what those fats are, what those carbs are, how we do it. 18 grams of fiber per day to lower the glycemic index, delivered over a certain amount of food over the certain period of the day, all plant-based. There's a lot of really, really tricky stuff that goes into it. And then on top of that, we give you a drink on day 2 to 5 called the L drink, which is a glycerin-based drink that when your body is in a low insulin, high glucagon state, you can use glycerin for energy. It's very hard to get that.
Yeah, that stuff is pretty wild. Because I was starving at one time. I was like, man, I feel like I'm starving today because it was hitting me just right. And I drank the L drink, and I'm like, I just started for maybe like 15 minutes, just kept sipping it. And I'm like, wow, I'm not hungry.
Yeah, it's a lot of people say that. Yeah, it's an energy source when you're in this fasting state. When you're not in a fasting state, your kidneys just filter it out and you just get rid of it. But so it doesn't do much outside of the diet. But in the diet, it's one of the tricks we give you to help preserve your lean body mass and protect your muscles during it. So there's a lot of technical things that happen in the diet. You certainly could try and go out and do it. Most of the recipes I've seen online are inaccurate. Most of the people's concept of how this works is a little bit wrong. So the nice thing about the diet is we did all the thinking for you. It's you just are not buying food for 5 days and you don't have any alcohol, which is what we're doing in this kit. You save a significant amount of money. So if you look at it that way, the product's actually not even that expensive. And for all the benefits that you're getting, it's really, I think,
for all the benefits that you're getting, I believe that it's a phenomenal product. I've used it now 3 times, and every time I've gotten better results. What I like about it is I have injuries, and that's why I got it. And I can see the impact of it in the 3 days. I was like, okay, cool. All the trash, because at the end of the day, I'm not perfect. I still eat bad food, and then when I eat bad food, I get inflammation. So I mean, at the end, and then I go right on this, puts me back on schedule, and I've been losing weight progressively every time I do it, and it stays off.
Weight, one of the things that a lot of people come for because it's the easiest thing to see, but it's what's happening intracellularly that's really the value. And I echo what you said. My first time I did it, I didn't have the best experience during it, but when I was done by about day 5.
But it's only 5 days.
On day 5, my brain fog was gone. My brain felt clear. I felt like I was 10 years younger. My joints I have 2 torn rotator cuffs, and we don't obviously claim as a company anything around this, but I noticed that my shoulders were pain-free for several weeks after the diet. Energy levels were through the roof. Much easier to make healthy choices. We've done some post-marketing surveys on our customers, and they all say similar stuff. So that's one of the kind of things that how you feel that keeps a lot of people coming back.
Definitely. We're going to segue in this one. You kind of said it already. We're just going to elaborate a little bit. Like, people are trying to mimic this diet, but is fasting dangerous? And is it dangerous in general? And when people do it, are they at risk of having it dangerous for them? And then compared to this, what's the difference?
Yeah, and so if you look at what happens during a water fast, you're not taking in any. It's again the only real way to get the same kind of cleanup that you get during fasting mimicking diets like Prolon is with a prolonged water fast, and they aren't getting any salt. So if you're not taking in any salt or electrolytes, you're not going to be absorbing as much water. So you're at a good risk of feeling more lightheaded, potentially getting headaches more frequently. Which even on Prolon, that is sometimes something we see. But if you're not getting any of that, you're at a much higher risk of that. You could potentially become hypothalamic, meaning low blood pressure. In addition to the fact that most people just can't tolerate a water fast, they drop out adherence very well.
And I've seen the water fasting before, and I've only seen it done, I think, for people who can't just hop on a diet or anything else. And it seems I've heard of somebody going on a fast, like water fast for a month. I think it's pretty extreme.
Yeah. Under supervision and with electrolytes, like there's a
Exactly.
group called True North in Northern California that does.
And that's what I'm talking about.
They do medically supervised water fasting, and for certain indications that may not be a bad idea. But if you're not doing it under supervision, and by the way, I do want to take a little time to just state that if you do have any medical condition or take any prescription medications, you do want to check with your doctor. In some cases, you need to go through your doctor to do something like Prolon. So I just want everyone to be safe.
And pretty much you answered my other question there. It's like, who should be fasting? Like Richie, like when you're training people, do you like, hey, I'm gonna just put you on a fast, or like, what do I do? What do you do? Like as a doctor, what do you do, and what do you do, Richie?
Well, this is what I would tell you. In the beginning, or what I would say is, this isn't just for people who aren't healthy. I want everybody to know that. When I started with the company, I was in good shape, but it wasn't the point. It wasn't the reason why I did the box in the first place. We're, I tell everybody we're a nutrition company, but we're a longevity company first. And going back to what you said before about being able to replace the Prolon with actually going to the store and getting food. What people need to realize is Professor Longo spent 10 years just developing the box, and he's been studying longevity for about close to 30 years. So it's not that easy to replicate. And if fasting was easy, everybody would do it. Mm-hmm. So just take those nutrient sensing pathways and suppress them, and being nourished with food instead of just drinking water, I'd say, it's definitely a better alternative.
Yeah. So, and from my perspective, I think we're pretty good at keeping you alive in Western medicine. We're kind of allopathic, we're kind of bad at making you feel good in a lot of cases. And even if you are quote unquote healthy, there's a lot of optimization you can do. Because if we look at the blue zone population, the longest living people on Earth are living into their hundreds, the concentration of centenarians, they do quite a bit differently than what we do in Western society. And one of the biggest differences is diet. So even if you meet all the standards of being a quote unquote healthy person, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be progressively declining throughout your life. And if you want to optimize how you progress, so that we're looking not just at lifespan, we're looking at health span, meaning how many good years do you have. One of the biggest things you can do that's most impactful is cleaning up your body, trying your best to eat the type of diet that's going to keep your cells in a healthy level of a lot of metabolic balance. So I do think for generally healthy people, doing this a couple times a year is probably a really good idea. And Dr. Longo goes through it in this book about why. And we're not basing this on our idea. This is based on tens of thousands of people doing research. A lot of the research is done outside of our company, although we do have currently 40 clinical trials in various stages of completion. We've done about $50 million of research at this point to validate it. So we know even from single-cell organisms all the way up to humans, this is one of the best interventions we can do to rapidly regain some of a more healthy aging trajectory. So
yeah, it's pretty wild. There's another one. Now there's when you look at the the back and you look at the labels, there's a lot of fat in it. So at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, is this a keto diet or something? And that's some people think that's what it is. What's the difference?
And you do go into a mild ketosis in a lot of cases, but the difference between keto and this, there's quite a number of differences. One being that you're only doing this for 5 days, so it's a rapid, intense intervention as opposed to a prolonged, more slow intervention. You're going to get much more significant benefit over a very short period of time. But in addition to that, most keto diets are far too high protein, so you're not going to be getting autophagy. And if they have very low protein, they're not going to be sparing muscle. So there are. I'm not anti.
We want to save that muscle, right?
Yeah, I think keto works great for a lot of people for short periods of time, and there are purposes behind keto. And obviously, it's first and foremost, it was developed as a medical intervention for people with epilepsy. So ketogenesis has its place. So I'm certainly not anti-keto.
Yeah, I've seen it done with plants, and I've seen it done with with meat, of course. Hey, that's cute. Look at that.
That's not even my cat.
Yeah, it's your cat's going keto, brother.
I'm babysitting a friend's cat. So thank you.
Now, why 5 days and not 7 or not 4? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so actually 4 to 7 days is an appropriate fasting mimicking diet for various different
16 hours, for example. Yeah. That's another one too that people do.
So the reason we did 5 days is because it takes, and if you look at all the research on autophagy outside of our company, autophagy is always occurring at some level in your fat and some other stuff, but to truly get that cleanup version of autophagy, the vast majority of it doesn't occur till about 48 hours, and it lasts till at least 96 hours, which is day 3 and 4. Now, since we are giving you some food, your body is aware. This is not truly invisible food. What we're doing is we're putting the cells in a fasting state while protecting the body as a whole as best we can. And
so that's really the difference.
Yeah. So it may take a little bit longer, which is one of the reasons we went to day 5. There's also some evidence, interesting hypotheses around stem cells and how they may play a role in the regeneration after you finish the diet, and how it takes a certain number of days to really ramp up your circulation of them. But that's something we're investigating. We've looked at it in a small portion. We need much larger trials. But so there's a lot of evidence that 5 days is really the minimum that you need to do with a fasting mimicking diet. There's certain things you might be able to go shorter for certain medical conditions with a different version, which is something we're developing, but that's not what Prolon is. If you go longer than that, you're not really going to get any additional cleanup. You're not going to necessarily see any other changes other than maybe a little bit more fat burning.
It's like this really nice sweet spot then.
Yeah. We've picked
and honestly, from my experience, I would say that's the truth. I mean, that last day, bro, that's really rough.
Yeah. Some people think it's easy. Some people think it's hard. It's interesting to me because about half of our clients think the diet's easy, period. Yeah. I'm not one of them. I think it can be fairly challenging. The last time I did it, I sailed through it, but I've done it 6 times. The first 5 were different each time. The first one was definitely the roughest. Yeah, it's certainly.
Now this is all plant-based, but how come no meat products or like butter or something of that nature?
Yeah, so the reason that we avoid animal protein is because if you look at the things we're trying to quiet down for 5 days, one of them is called IGF-1, which is insulin-like growth factor 1. It's kind of the main trigger for growth in your body, which you want when you're building muscle. It is important. We're not saying you can drop IGF-1 to 0, but if you look at the people who are living the longest, they do have lower IGF-1 than people in the West. And if you want to trigger autophagy, you really do have to have low IGF-1. So animal protein strongly reactivates it. So if we can avoid any animal amino acids, you can keep that IGF-1 at a more healthy level and kind of optimize healthy aging. So that's one of the reasons why we do no animal product in the diet, just because it does that. And technically we have honey, which some people consider that to be an animal product. So it's not totally vegan, but just to be clear, we try to avoid any animal proteins. So in general, animal proteins, if you can do plant-based protein, that's probably going to be healthy for you in general, based on most research. But if you got to have animal protein after the diet, we would recommend something like a healthy fatty fish with omega-3, DHA, EPA, low mercury, or shellfish if you need it. But in general, try to avoid red meat and white meat. And he talks a little bit about that in his longevity diet book as well, and the research behind that. Doesn't mean you have to be pure vegan, but certainly does seem to indicate.
I think we, as a society, we emphasize a lot of protein, and people are not really emphasizing more quantity or quality.
Yeah. Or doing the repair from all the damage. Because protein has its ups and downs. Growing is great, but it also is associated with growing some bad stuff too. So you can clean up the bad every now and then. So that's why I'm a big fan of a couple times a year, just periodic fasting, like Prolon.
Now, Richie, they have the bars separate too, right? There, you can. I know when I first got it, I had the bars here for. I guess you can periodically fast. That's like another thing that they do in El Nutra, right? They have the fasting bars.
They have a fast bar, and Professor Longo, when you read his book, he talks about for weight maintenance having 2 healthy meals and a healthy snack. Right? It's the breakfast bar. So it's pretty much very similar to the breakfast bar that you get in the box. Back to that plant-based thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Kelly. The reason why I'm doing plant-based eating is because the studies have shown that plant-based eating decelerates your biological age. So this is where I feel like, it's animal protein accelerates your biological age, and plant-based protein decelerates your biological age. So I can't control the fact that I just turned 50 years old, but I'm more concerned right now in my life about working from the inside out. So if I could be, and I'm not a vegetarian. I tell everybody I reserve my right to have lamb chops, but I probably do a 90-10 diet. So 90% of what I put in my body is plant-based.
Yeah, and I tell people the same thing. I usually give them the prescribed. I'm like, I go plant-based, and it's worked really well for me. And but of course, just because you go plant-based doesn't mean you can't get away from vegan junk food. So you have to be careful with that, because there's a lot of temptation even in that camp. retrospectively. And then I think if you're, a lot of it is when you look at all those diets that are out there, it's really mostly about, as we already know, just cleaning it up and staying to the whole foods, right? And then another thing that I've seen too is that people tend to kind of, they want to just do something really quickly and fast. So I think this is a great thing because the impact, I feel that the impact is, I mean, it's a good impact. So it's right there in that special window that right when, because I'm just going to do a keto, and then they do it for 3 days and then they crash. And then like, well, this is like, well, just complete that 5 days and then you're going to get the health benefits throughout the year, especially if you do it multiple times, because I know for a fact it's proven. I mean, I read the book, the science is there. You can't go wrong with that. So, I mean, tell us about this L drink again, because what is it exactly?
Yeah, so the way the body uses energy, and there's a lot of really elegant things that we have inside us that are really, really carefully regulated and controlled. And when you go into a fasting state, your body goes through a couple stages. The first thing it does, as you run out of sugar from the last meal, it's about 12 hours, insulin starts to go down and glucagon starts to go up. When glucagon goes up, that mobilizes the fat in the liver to start turning into free fatty acid and ketones. But that takes 48 to 72 hours, depending on whether you're a guy or a girl, how big you are, how metabolically flexible you are. So in the interim, the body will use glycogen, which is what your muscles use for energy as stored energy. Glycogen and glycerin and amino acids for energy while it's waiting for the ketones to sort of pick up the slack. So for about 2 days, when you go into a water fast, you're going to be eating a ton of muscle tissue. Some of it's going to be amino acids that the muscles are actually made out of. A lot of it's going to be the stuffing that powers them. Your liver has some sort of glycogen too, and they very rapidly deplete. So, and then that's when it starts attacking muscle a little bit while it waits for the ketones. So glycerin, as I mentioned, they can use glycerin, glycogen, and amino acids. If I give you the glycerin, your body can use that energy instead of muscle, so we can help make up some of that deficit, which will protect the muscle. But interestingly, glycerin is not counted by the body as nutrition, so it can set off those cellular alarms. So I can give you a lot of energy without triggering your cells to get out of that fasting state. So that's one of the ways we preserve your lean body mass. We give you the stuff the body would kind of eat instead of muscle.
That's very, very interesting. Now, could I? It's not the question that I sent you, but could I just use the L drink in performance?
Yeah, so that's also something we do get asked, and it makes sense, except that the only way your body can use it is if insulin is low. So if you're in a fed state, glycerin just gets excreted by your kidneys. You just filter it right out and you urinate it out. You don't absorb it. You can't use it for energy. It doesn't spare muscle. So you have to be in a ketogenic starvation state for it to be useful.
That's going to be effective, huh?
Yeah. So, and we also you can't really save the L drink we have either because it has a shelf life of about 1 to 2 weeks tops. And even if you refrigerate it, we really want people to be careful because it's suspended and it's the way it's made. I really would not encourage keeping it for longer than a week or two. Usually we just say discard it after you've opened it and used it. So
got it. I was going to ask another one, but no, I'm just going to stay to the topic. Yeah, let's see. How many times can you use this product, and then can you use it back to back? For example, like let's say, hey, I gotta get into my suit, and I'm gonna do this for straight every week for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that makes sense that people would be interested in doing that. The fact that you would stay in a mildly ketogenic diet and state and burn more fat, I guess that makes sense. The challenge is we really only have safety data on the 5 days. There is a sweet spot after which you do a fast for too long, you're going to end up starting to get some of the negative aspects. You may start eating more muscle tissue no matter what you're doing. That's just the way the body works. So we feel that this is really the optimal way to do it. If you're trying to lose that, there's also, it may impact metabolism differently if you do that. If you do anything for too long, the thyroid tends to notice and you may end up slowing down metabolism or something like that. In a short period, this seems to potentially even boost metabolism with repetitive cycles. So really the peak way to do it would be once every month with about 25 days in between. So 5 days on, 25 days off. And that's really what was studied. That really has the peak efficacy in terms of training your body to use nutrition more effectively and building a cumulative benefit. So doing it twice.
You need that bounce back then.
Yeah, that stress and relax, stress and relax, stress and relax. Almost like muscle confusion. It leads to a much better result. In our clinical trials, when people did 3 cycles, We measured them 4 months later, and they still had about 60 to 90% of the changes without any of the lifestyle changes. So they didn't change their diet, didn't change their exercise before, during, or after. They just did the Prolon and made no other changes. They still had 60 to 90% of the benefits 4 months later. There's not too many interventions where you've stopped doing it. 4 months later, it's still there. So that was pretty compelling evidence that you do want to do it a couple times in a row, but that really Dr. Longo has said no more than once every 15 days between. So 5 days on, 15 days off would be like the closest you want to do it. You want to give yourselves the opportunity to do the repairs and the changes and all the other stuff they need to do after you finish the diet.
No, Richie's been in the field, so what do you usually see people doing, like in gyms and stuff like that?
Well, I'm gonna bring up something very interesting, and I believe that this is what Professor Longo said. If you do 1 month, okay, the recommendation is 3 consecutive months. But if you do 1 month, you're supposed to see some of the results for 4 to 6 weeks. But with the studies that we have done, if you do it for 3 consecutive months, you're supposed to see results for 4 to 6 months. That's why people choose to do it for 3 consecutive months. Here's something I will tell you. After my first month, and I was pretty healthy and I was lean to begin with. After my first month, I saw such great results that I actually couldn't do it back to back to back months. I had to tell my wife we had to wait. So my first 3 months, because I was already an athlete and I was already super active and I watched what I eat and I already had more of a plant-based diet before I started. So it took me really 6 months to do my first 3 boxes, and I did another 2 boxes in the next 6 months. So here's the greatest thing about this. This is the biggest problem people do when they set you up on a nutrition program when you come into a gym. People who haven't been able to stick to anything for 3 hours, they're trying to put somebody on a 90-day program.
Yep.
You can't do that.
It's hard.
If we're on a maintenance program with Prolon, you really only have to take 25 days out of the 365 in the year to eat this way to rejuvenate your body.
And then for both of you, you're saying you eat steak once in a while, and that's good. And I stay plant-based, but I know I still have some trash. I think the most important thing is you said it. It's like you need to have a plan after you get off of this diet. So like what is a good recommendation? Like what should we give somebody like right now? Like, hey, after you get off, do this and you ease yourself in there. Both of you. So go ahead, Richie.
Go first, Richie.
Oh, it's funny. The one thing I would say to you is that Professor Longo says to adopt more of a pescatarian and Mediterranean style of eating. The one thing we didn't mention about Prolon in the box and the research that's been done, a lot of those foods and a lot of those ingredients that you're going to find in the box has actually been researched through those blue zones that Professor Longo talks about in his book. So that would be another one of the reasons why you can't just pick up and go to ShopRite and decide to pick up all of these things and make it work for you.
A ShopRite. I've never been to that one, man.
Right, or
we got a Weiss, brother. We got a Weiss.
Weiss Brothers, whatever you want to call them. Right, Trader Joe's. Did I get them all?
Oh, we have a Trader Joe here, yeah.
Okay, all right. Oh, I figured I'd get one eventually, right?
Oh, yes.
But that's another reason why it's difficult to mimic. But I've adopted more of the Mediterranean or pescatarian style of eating.
Yeah.
And yourself, doctor? What do you usually do?
I mean, I misbehave a little bit. I'm Irish and from Ohio. So in his book, he says, eat from your grandfather's table. Well, my grandfather was eating a lot of steak and potatoes. So I'm not sure that's going to have the best result for me. But going forward, different blue zones eat slightly different combinations, but almost all of them are fairly low animal protein, fairly high healthy fat. Dr. Longo specifically recommends close to about 60% of your diet should be coming from complex carbohydrates. The Okinawa, they eat most of their diet is Okinawan sweet potatoes, things that have a little bit of a lower glycemic index. So avoid animal proteins again if you can. But even in Italy, they don't eat zero. So Sardinia, Italy is one of the blue zones. They still have.
To be fair to the Mediterranean side, because a lot of people go back and forth. I mean, it's honestly just lower. They really do a lot of very low meat. Kind of eating. Most of the world does that. I mean, we're the only ones really obsessed with tons of eating a lot of fat and a lot of that, a lot of meat in that realm. I think some people don't even like fish. I'm like, what's wrong with fish? Fish is great if you know how to make it.
Yeah. Well, but here's one thing I would add. So for me, the transition over to a better diet is really rocky. But this is actually what I use Prolon for. To be totally honest, I like the longevity benefits, but it's not something you're going to feel necessarily, although you do generally feel better. It's much easier when you're done. Even just over 5 days, you mentally detox yourself from a lot of the food behaviors that you may have had before. So for me, when I'm done with the diet, I don't crave sugar or processed food. I don't crave red meat. In fact, I feel a little sick sometimes when I eat it afterwards. So much easier to eat smaller portions, less. I rely less on a lot of the stuff that I need before. So if you're having trouble changing your diet and lifestyle, that's another reason that I think is really beneficial for doing something like Prolon. I really haven't found anything else that works for me the same way. And actually, it's what a lot of my colleagues in the medical community use it for. Even though we have all this great research around potential benefits to your health, they use it because it makes them. It's kind of a get out of jail for them. They've been missing.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm checking that button because we know it. We know it works. That's why it's up. Because I'm not just gonna do whatever over here. I'm gonna do this thing. Has been researched. You know, it's like what 10, 20 years, something crazy like that.
20 years, about $28 million. Yeah, it's a lot of work. So.
Now, segueing into Richie's experience here, what have you gotten from a personal experience, and then what have you seen other gyms? I think last time I saw you, we went down to a convention, and you were down in DC, so it was really nice to see you face to face because I just talked to him online, literally on the phone the whole time, and you look great, man. You look, you were fit. And then the people back there, they were fit, and I guess they do every month. They're doing a Prolon box, and they're kayaking, and or what was some kind of boarding or something that they were doing.
We're doing the paddle boarding.
Got it.
My that I was with was doing actually paddle boarding. This is what I would say to you. The cool thing about what you're doing is I always tell everybody to find a marker. What are they interested in improving in their lives? And what's important to them. And we'll have James speak on this a little bit more in terms of what has been shown in terms of the claims that we can make as a company. For me, from personal experience, I went on an in-body machine. If people are unfamiliar with an in-body machine, it's a machine that judges your lean muscle mass. It judges your body fat percentage, your BMI, all these good things, right? So when I started on the program, this is after 3 boxes. I had lost 10 pounds. I had lost 6% body fat, and it didn't affect any of my lean muscle mass. So to all of you people out there who've ever tried to diet to lose 10 pounds because you're going on a cruise, it's great if you jump on a treadmill with a sweatshirt, but at the end of the day, if you lose 10 pounds of muscle, doesn't it defeat the purpose of you going to the gym in the first place? I don't have a weight issue, but I was excited about the fact that I was lean. And the other thing is I lost 2 inches around my waist. So all of them, they call it truncal fat.
Yep.
Or they talk about the visceral fat. That's really what it goes after. But James, why don't you speak on some of the findings in terms of what it might help you with?
Yeah, and in our clinical trials, we looked at were generally healthy people. They were about average weight loss of 3 cycles now, almost 6 pounds. If you stratified that by people who started heavier, they had more sticking weight, almost 10 pounds of loss. And as Ricky mentioned, the vast majority of it is truncal. So the most of it comes from apparently from visceral fat, because they're bad on healthy fat that surrounds your organs. We know that we help support and maintain a healthy level of things like systolic blood pressure. Now, again, we don't claim to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So if you have hypertension, something like that, we haven't done a clear trial on that to get any results we can speak on. But if you're generally healthy, we help you maintain healthy levels of a lot of things like glucose, et cetera. But we also, again, I mentioned early on IGF-1, so that healthy aging marker, hopefully. So we help you maintain healthy levels of that. Obviously, you maintain your lean body mass, which is good for performance. It's easier to do. That's one of the things we saw. Compliance was very high. Metabolic tolerance was something we saw. We also know from all of the people that have done it at this point, we have about almost 200,000 people at this point, that it is very safe for people who are already generally healthy, and that people report a lot of increased energy, greater focus and clarity.
That is definitely true.
Healthier eating habits, disruption of the unhealthy eating patterns, and then changes with the relationship and food. So a lot of really good stuff from both a behavioral and a physiological standpoint.
How about training on Prolon? I've done it in here where my training system here is a little bit different. I do a lot more recovery. So what we usually do is train once or twice a week. It's high intensity, like super slow.
Okay.
But we do statics, and the funny thing is that performance doesn't go down; it actually goes up. And I tell them to kind of hold back too. I go, give me 80% of your effort, and of course they feel so good, And I've done it at the second, the third day. I even done it on the last day of their fast, and I don't know why, but then I've had people leave here and they're on a regular diet, and they get off their eating plan that has a lot of fiber or has a lot of plants in it. Then they're eating a lot of they're just kind of cheating for the week. They're just eating a lot of trash. And then I see the charts come down because the glycogen's not there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, should we train on this? I feel that you can. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. So I've actually tested that. And if you think about what we're saying we do, cleaning up stuff, optimizing things, it's good. And this is what the movie The Game Changers talks a lot about. Like, you can actually potentially improve how you're doing, not just maintain it or lose as little as possible. So for me, the first couple times I did it, I would specifically challenge myself the day before I started. I'd work out and then I'd see what my maxes were and how I could do. Then I'd try to get on day 6 afterwards, and it would always be higher. So, which surprised me because I've been in a fasting state for 5 days, but everything seemed to work better. Everything, yeah. So, in any case, we don't recommend working out on the diet for 2 reasons. No one's done a good study.
No marathon stuff during the week.
So here's our logic. So we do not want you working to the point of fatigue or soreness because, one, you're using up calories, and anytime you use up calories that you're not putting in, you're potentially more lightheaded. 2, if you use up those calories, you may drive your body to look for more energy in the muscles. You may lose muscle mass. Again, nobody's done that great study, but it makes sense that if you use up energy during a fast, your body will look for it, and muscles are full of energy.
And that's what we do here. People overtrain a lot, and their muscle never grows. They never have that time where they're technically the muscles growing, their body's resetting. So they never do that because all they're doing is just digging, and there's no rest.
And it's definitely not in the early stages of the diet when you're not yet in full ketosis. May not be the best idea to work out super hard. The other reason we don't say work out, we say not to work out to the point of fatigue and soreness, is that releases growth hormone. That's part of the point of working out, is to build muscle. So when you work out, you release growth hormone, which will turn off a fast. So we don't want you to get less benefit. Now, we don't know exactly how much, we don't know or the levels, but so what we do say is you can do things like brisk walking, gentle yoga, no more than about 15 minutes of high intensity training during the diet.
Oh, that's great. I'm right in the mark.
So yeah, try to avoid it if you can. It's definitely early on, but general our recommendations is don't exercise during those 5 days. But we let everybody kind of see, at the very least, the first time you do it, see how you do.
How about you there, Richie? You train on this while you're?
This is what I would say to you. I would say that I've been working out my whole life. Actually, when I go into this, I keep the time that I typically work out every day.
Yep.
And I'll go for a long walk, and I'll be very conscious of the fact that how many calories that I'm burning. Because first of all, I don't want to be miserable. Second of all, we're only from days 2 to 5, we're only on 750 calories a day. We need to take this approach with Prolon, that this is a maintenance program that you're going to be doing over and over and over again.
Yep.
And I take those 5 days and I do something so I can stay in my routine, because we're creatures of habit. But I would say this is the only opportunity that during these 25 days out of the year that I'm giving my body the chance to rest and rejuvenate and repair.
Exactly.
And I come back even stronger. It's not like I'm going to wake up on day 6.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm not going to wake up on day 6 on my transition day and say, after I've been working on my whole life, this workout stuff is not for me.
Yeah.
It's a mental change. We don't talk about the mindfulness and the mental change that happens when you go on this box. How you look at food differently, how you look at exercise differently, and how you think, what do I have to do to get better? Just when you think you can't get any better, even with me, I tried to get in the best shape of my life last year at 50 years old, and I came really, really close. But what I realized was it's really hard to get the best shape of your life when you've been in shape your whole life. But I definitely think Prolon helped me get into very, very good shape. And I even tweaked the screws on myself even more. But it's you get a little bit older, it's all about diet. It's all about diet.
Totally. Yeah, that's the way it is. I tell everybody, look, I can have you work out every day, but you're not going to lose the weight unless you eat better. That's just that's really what it is.
Yeah, Hansel, if 50% of our success is exercise and nutrition, probably, in my opinion, 80% of that success is nutrition. What do you think, James?
Well, I mean, there's the classic vain Hollywood adage that abs are made in the kitchen. So, we very much, I do see nutrition plays a huge role in how everything functions. There's a couple doctors who don't do fasting mimicking diet who are fairly well known, but do prolonged water fasting. Before they have any of their patients do it, they spend months just nutrifying them like crazy with a really densely nutritious plant-based diet, making sure all their cells are optimally functioning. And they do see improvements across the board in things like sleep and recovery and inflammation and all those things that, working out is great. But if you're not optimizing your body, you're not getting the most out of your workout. So I view that very much part and parcel. You do regenerative, restorative, clean the cells up, work out, benefit, give the body time to recover from that. It's kind of the rest and relax. It sort of creates peak flexibility. So I think that's the key benefit.
All right, so we're gonna get because a lot of people haven't seen what Prolon is, and I think you have a video where you actually explain each box. I think Have you made one?
A couple, yeah. I've been in a couple. Every now and then I'll walk in and say, "Hey, can you do this?" So I've done a couple. We talked about
I think I've seen your video where you explain it, but just Richie or yourself or both at the same time doesn't really matter. If you guys can explain, it's technically the 5 days. Kind of troubleshoot the side effects and.
Yeah, sure. So if you don't mind, Richie, I'll take care of that one. So day one is about 1,130 calories, and it's designed more to ease you in. It's real food. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a breakfast.
Guys.
People think is the most delicious thing. I eat it when I'm not on the diet. It's nuts and honey, basically macadamia nuts, and it's delicious. And then we give you soups, supplements. We give you our own plant-based supplement that gives you some of the electrolytes, minerals, and vitamins that you're going to need during the diet that we've tested that don't interfere with it. Some supplements may actually interfere with it, so we're always careful about that. Just take the ones in the diet. We give you herbal teas.
I love this cheat sheet too.
Yeah. We give you a guide that really helps.
I carry it with me just to make sure that I'm on track. It's like a map.
Yeah, there's a little card that fits in the day boxes because each day we've arranged in a box, and you just take that box with you throughout the day, and then the little meal card he's showing you talks about how we would suggest that you eat it. You can actually kind of eat it in any order you want as long as you don't mix days. Everything in day one has to be eaten in only day one. You can't carry it forward. Then day 2 through 5, step it back down to a little over 700 to 770 calories per day. And again, similar, you start with a breakfast nut bar, and then you go through and you have things like we give you snacks, and some gives you dessert. We give you olives.
The bars that they're talking about, guys.
Choco crisp, and this is the breakfast bar, the nut bar, and we give it. Some days have it as a snack bar. And then we also give you olives, both from the blue zones, whole real olives. And I'll tell you, I don't care for olives when I'm not on the diet. The ones on the diet are delicious. So if you don't like olives, give these a shot. They're actually wonderful. We have sea salt, and we have another one with garlic. We also give you algal oil which is plant-based omega-3. So it is from
the kale crackers are really good.
And then kale crackers. A lot of people who love them, like me, that's great. Some who don't, you can crack them up, put them in the soups. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But we try to give you, again, there's the olive. We give you breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, dessert, drinks. We give you the L drink on day 2 through 5, which is glycerin. You can mix it with hibiscus tea or one of the other teas we include each day. We give you plenty of herbal teas. You can bring your own herbal teas outside from the diet as long as they have 0 calories. These are some of the soups. We have 5 different varieties in each one. We actually have 2 different kits. So if we've done version 1 a bunch, and you want to try version 2, and that's some new soups.
And we have 2 versions of this box, right? I remember I got a whole pack of different soups and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. So we actually have 10 different varieties, and we're working on expanding that even more. But each box has 5. We kind of alternate and rotate. So if there's a particular soup that you're either sensitive to an ingredient or you don't like particularly, when you go to purchase, just put it in the notes and we'll send you other soups you can swap it out for. But try not to swap the soups if you can avoid it. It's been tested the way it is. So that's really the most likely that you're going to get the most benefit. So.
Yeah, and we got the minerals and supplements to support us too throughout the diet as well.
Yeah, and they're carefully measured so that we don't think they interfere with any of the pathways we're trying to hide from. So
Gotcha. So like usually when do people usually start feeling some of the side effects, and how do you troubleshoot those side effects?
the most common things we see are mild headache, mild fatigue, and
It's
mild.
called detoxing, guys.
Yeah. So and in some cases, it's obviously we can't prove it, but it's probably a feature. It's probably your body going through the transition. There's day 2. Yeah. So each box is numbered, so it keeps track for you. We try to make it as simple and doable as possible.
I love that, man. Just walk around with it.
And that's one of the main features, is just that we did all the thinking for you. You just have to follow the instructions. By the end of it, you're done. You got all the benefits, and we took the guessing out of it. But day 2 for women, day 3 for men is when you start to transition. There's the L drink that has the glycerin in it that helps support your muscles. And throughout the day, you just drink. You measure out on the back of that. You pour it into the water bottle, and you drink it throughout the day for energy. And usually day 2 is when, if you're going to have some symptoms, a lot of people start to feel them midway through the end of the day. They start to maybe in some cases get a mild headache. Most of the problems seem to get a little better with hydration. So we do recommend that people stay super well hydrated on the diet, at least 32 fluid ounces of water, maybe up to 64 more. If you're somebody who regularly drinks a ton of water before the diet, you're going to want to increase your water intake a little bit. So that'll help with a number of different things. In some cases, going for a walk can help, or if you're too lightheaded, laying down. You can have 2 slices of an apple for a rescue once each day. I wouldn't.
Yeah, but how many people do experience? I mean, I honestly, I never got any complaints.
In our clinical trials, it was pretty rare, but it did happen. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of probably about. I think 40% of people had some mild symptom of some kind that they noticed at some point. But
how about you, Richie? What have you experienced? Richie's giving me some good tips too to kind of technically survive my 5 days. It's not really a survival. The one trick that I love is I take that tea and I just drink it all day long. And because a lot of people hate water. They just hate the taste of water, I guess. Yeah. And I'm diluting that little packet of tea. I'm just abusing it, and the whole day I'm just drinking that tea.
Yeah, you really have to. Me personally, day 1, box 1. When I first did it, I felt like I was overthinking the eating.
Really?
I didn't take anything out of the box, and what would happen is I'd just start pulling things out of the box when I was hungry. I'm not a big fan of following the meal card, to be 100% honest. I eat when I'm hungry. And the first box that I actually tried, I felt like I was overthinking the eating part of it. Mm-hmm. And every box was a different experience, like James was mentioning. A few pointers I would say to you is take everything out of the box and lay it out on the counter. This way you know that you have stuff left for later on in the evening. Keep your eating
that did help a lot, because you put it all outward like this, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm seeing. Yeah. I think most people they want to stuff their face, right?
You get a little box and you're like, oh, this isn't my food, and then you lay it out and you realize there's a lot of items in each box. So
something else very important, ladies and gentlemen: do not drink the L drink with the meal.
Okay.
You have to space this drink out, and you have to take sips of it when you're feeling maybe a little tired, a little down. It's going to keep your energy levels up. So some people made the mistake of drinking the L drink in one shot, like with one of their soups, and they get this real high burst of energy and feel great, and then all of a sudden it was like they were falling off a cliff.
I sip that soup. That's what works for me.
Well, and also, guys, I don't even do that. I finish the L drink usually by about 1 p.m. So I try to, for me, I space it so that I'm not as hungry in the morning, so I try to not eat.
You do it more like a bodybuilder does.
Yeah, and I don't have my, exactly, and I don't have my soup until probably 2 or 3 p.m., and then I have my dinner at like 7, and then I go to bed. It's hard for me to fall asleep when I'm hungry. So everybody has their own ways of doing it, and the first time you do it, just kind of strap yourself in and say, if you happen to be one of the people who get some side effects, I view it as like, you can do anything for 5 days. If it's a significant side effect, I want you to consider discontinuing the diet and contact your health professional. If you have a question about it, contact us. We can tell you. Usually we also like to give you a little coaching call maybe ahead of time. We offer that for all of you who do purchase it. You can get a free complimentary health coaching call, which can give you some ideas of what to expect and how to maybe troubleshoot on it, so that you're not surprised. You know what normal looks like, and you know how some tips and tricks to do well on the diet, and also what to look for that's beneficial. So that tends to really help people. But if you go in cold, you may, in some cases, get a little surprised, and that's okay. Power through it and see how you do. So, for me, I view it as work. so I don't even mind if I do get something. But yeah, so I kind of just follow the directions, get through it, and before I know it, I'm done. So
They
Now,
say
this
box
is
6 is a much different experience than box 1. You have to remember this. In
well,
box 5 and box 6, it's more of a mental thing for me. I'm
yeah,
challenged. It's not difficult with the foods. I mean, I got to a point where if it was day 2 or day 3, I'd have 2 soups at 6 o'clock. Like I wasn't eating my L bar until like 11 or 12 o'clock. I wasn't eating my L bar, which is typically breakfast, till about noon. The good thing about that is I had all of this food left. So you talk
yeah,
about doubling up on the tea bag, right?
yeah.
Once you get to 12 o'clock, it's like, okay, you don't carry things over to the next day. So I found myself sometimes having my lunch soup at 6 and my dinner soup at 7. It became really, really easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out the teas there. They're really good, actually.
yeah. So
Good
there's
teas.
spearmint, there's
I like this.
lemon, there's hibiscus, and again, if you have an herbal tea that you really like, you can, as long as that's 0 calories, you're allowed to bring in herbal tea. You're not allowed to bring in other stuff. If you want to drink caffeine on the diet too, we haven't really talked about that. They're raising up her limit. It's about 1 cup of coffee today, which is about 2 cups of black or green tea. It's about 80 to 90 milligrams of caffeine. Any more than that, and you start to reactivate one of the pathways that we're trying to suppress to put you in a fasting state. So it really is a limit. But if you're a big caffeine drinker, you're going to want to wean down before the diet, or day 2 can be pretty rough for you. So that is one bit of advice. And if you eat a ton of meat, you may want to try and scale down for about 2 weeks ahead of time, just because it's going to make your transition a little less rocky. But I'm a little bit like a goat. I just, I blast through whatever's in front of me. So I don't prep for it, and I just get ready, and I kind of anticipate. But if you're one of those people who wants to make it a little more simple, the closer to a Mediterranean-style plant-based diet you can eat, the easier it's going to be to transition into
Yeah, and that's what I preach here too. I tell everybody, just keep it after they come off of this. I tell them, look, I'm not trying to turn you vegan. At the end of the day, I just want you to eat better. I want you to eat plants. I want you to eat real food. And, an 80-20 style of doing things, I think, is a good approach. I do get this one. Sometimes a lot of it really has to do is because people they don't want to listen to the information or something of that nature. So they don't understand. So you explained a lot about the science that goes into it. Price. A lot of people are like, wow, that's really expensive. And then, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is value. I mean, we're longevity, like you said. It's why is it so expensive? I mean, you said pretty much.
A couple things. One, you're not buying any other food or drink, so it actually ends up it's nowhere near as expensive as people think about it is when you keep that in mind. Two, it's going to give you a huge variety of benefits and sort of change how yourself are doing something. So for me, I look at it as a heavily researched, incredibly carefully constructed, high quality box. It does what we say it's going to do. And if you view it in that angle, it's a pretty good bang for your buck for how much you're getting out of it. Now, obviously, we need larger studies before we can make any medical claim, but there are a lot of things to it that once you do it, you get it, and you kind of figure out this is the way. We spend a lot of time, effort, and money getting here, and we're only going to continue to improve and publish more clinical research.
So to put into perspective of how expensive something is, when I gave up meat, I saved almost like $400 to $500 a month. No, I'm not joking. I mean, it's a lot of money that I saved. So I think people need to really kind of look at because they're probably spending a lot more going out. Especially around here. You talk about $10 drinks. $50 sometimes. It's for a meal. For two or and above. So it's really, I don't think to me it's not expensive. I was like, oh, this is great, and it's all done for me. It's super easy. And of course, I tried the first time, and I knew I automatically felt the benefits.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I always have. You're doing this for you. This is 5 days to your optimal self. So that you're not going to get that from trying to save money on food somewhere. And again, I don't even think it's that expensive when you consider the value. I think it's actually inexpensive. But I do hear that occasionally, and my counter to that is just, this will do the following things for you. Show me how else you're going to get there in this way, and by all means, I'm happy to support you doing that. I don't get paid on sales. I literally just want you to get better. I happen to think this is a great way to do it. It's very straightforward. We did it for you. We packaged it nicely. It comes right to you. We pay for shipping, and at the end of the day, just follow the instructions, and you're gonna know by the end of the 5 days that it was worth it.
Awesome, Richie.
What I would say is people go to the gym to get results.
Yeah.
Getting results, I'm going to pay for what I pay for results. I tell people, look, if you paid $225, if you could write a check to lose 6 or 7 pounds, you would do it.
Mhm.
Everything's written out for you right here, and you only have to do this a few times a year to get the results that you're looking for. So,
Excellent. Well, we're going to wrap it up. So this is what we're doing here. Have a nice little banner at the bottom. Join us for a fasting mimicking diet week. Okay, so you guys can call me. Here at the Crowbar Gym line, send me an email if anybody's interested. And then I'm also doing some follow-ups as well. And we decided, let's see if this works right here. All right, no, we're doing that one. Oh, that's right. We're going to do our fasting week during this time, May 4th, June, and July. Definitely want to get started on May on that week. Hopefully we don't move it or something happens. But I'd like to start it on a Monday and then taper it off like right on that Friday right there, right? That last day.
I'm going to make an offer up to anybody who decides that they want to do the fasting week with your Crowbar Gym this upcoming month. We'll ship you a longevity diet book that Walter Longo has with your box, and we can drop ship it to you right away. And that would really tie everything together for you. There's also some very and it really ties everything together in terms of why you should eat a certain way. So we hope that you join us.
And if you guys have any questions or need any support, I'll be here as well too. I can follow up with you guys directly, and you guys can just get in touch. So we're here to help make your lives easy, make this doable. And again, once you try it and see it, it sells itself. People really get the difference.
I'm sold, man. I love the product, so I can't wait to do another one and keep going and build a community around with it, because you want to do before all this stuff went down, you used to do a nice big pretty much like a presentation, and you guys did it together. I think the supportive aspect really helps too, because you guys can go, as we say in the Marine Corps, go through the suck together. But it doesn't suck. That's the beauty about it, because it's like I'm fine. You're calling each other or texting each other, going, "I'm fine. Nothing's going on." I mean, I'm just on my third box. I mean, I'm on my third little box here, and I'm doing great. Mental support. But,
hey, when we figure out what the new normal is, James and I will come to your location and we'll do a seminar for your people. Okay,
that'd be great.
We'll figure out what the new normal is. Just I want everybody to stay safe and be healthy.
Same here. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I may join you on the fasting week. That's about when I was thinking about doing a box. So
perfect.
So
all right, we're gonna wrap it up. Any last words?
Thank you for having us. This is great.
Oh no, thank you very much, guys.
Everybody stay safe, practice social distancing, and wash your hands.
Thank you. I'm gonna end this broadcast. Crowbar Gym out, guys.